Have you ever wondered what happened to Jesus' 12 disciples after the Gospels end? We hear so much about their time walking with Jesus, witnessing miracles, and learning from him. But what became of these men who were tasked with spreading the message to the entire world? Their stories didn't end when Jesus ascended to heaven. In fact, that's where their own incredible and often perilous journeys truly began. Today, we're going to uncover the fates of each of the 12 apostles. It's a story of unwavering faith, immense courage, and ultimate sacrifice that has echoed through 2,000 years of history. Let's start with the most well-known, Simon Peter. Peter, the rock on whom Jesus said he would build his church, became a powerhouse leader in the early Christian community. He preached boldly in Jerusalem, performed miracles, and was instrumental in bringing the first Gentiles into the faith. Tradition tells us his journey took him all the way to Rome, the heart of the empire. It was there, during the persecution under Emperor Nero around 64 AD, that Peter met his end. Believing he was unworthy to die in the same manner as his Lord, he requested to be crucified upside down. This act of humility and devotion has made him a central figure in Christian history ever since. Next, we have the brothers, James and John, the sons of thunder. James, the son of Zebedee, holds a unique distinction. He was the very first of the 12 apostles to be martyred. The book of Acts tells us this clearly. Around 44 AD, King Herod Agrippa, seeking to please the religious leaders in Jerusalem, had James executed by the sword. His death was a huge blow to the early church, but it also showed the apostles the very real dangers they would face. His brother John had a much different and much longer path. John became a pillar of the church in Ephesus and is traditionally credited with writing the Gospel of John, the 3 epistles of John, and the book of Revelation. Unlike his brother, John is the only one of the original 12 believed to have died of old age, though not for a lack of trying by his enemies. One famous tradition says he was miraculously saved after being thrown into a cauldron of boiling oil in Rome. He was later exiled to the island of Patmos, where he received the apocalyptic visions that became the book of Revelation. He eventually returned to Ephesus and passed away peacefully, a beloved elder of the faith. What about Andrew, Peter's brother? He was the very first disciple Jesus called. After Pentecost, Andrew's missionary zeal reportedly took him far and wide. He is said to have preached in Scythia, along the Black Sea, and into what is now modern-day Greece and Turkey. He is the patron saint of several countries, including Scotland and Greece. Like his brother, his end was one of martyrdom. Tradition holds that he was crucified in the city of Patras, in Greece, on an X-shaped cross, which is now known as St. Andrew's Cross. He too felt unworthy to be crucified in the same way as Jesus. Let's move on to Philip. Not to be confused with Philip the Evangelist from the book of Acts. This Philip was from Bethsaida, the same town as Peter and Andrew. He's the one who brought Nathanael to Jesus. After Jesus' ascension, historical accounts suggest Philip preached in Phrygia, a region in modern-day Turkey. He, along with his daughters, settled in the city of Hierapolis. Like so many others, his bold preaching against pagan worship led to his martyrdom. He is believed to have been crucified or possibly hung by his ankles and stoned by the authorities in Herat. And what of Bartholomew, who is often identified as Nathanael, the man Philip brought to Jesus? The man Jesus called an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. Bartholomew's missionary journeys are said to be some of the most extensive. He traveled to India, Ethiopia, Mesopotamia, and Armenia. In fact, he is credited with bringing Christianity to Armenia, making it the first nation to officially adopt Christianity as its state religion. But his success came at a terrible price. Accounts say that in Armenia he was martyred in the most gruesome way, flayed alive and then beheaded by order of a local king. Then we have Matthew, also known as Levi, the tax collector. After writing the gospel that bears his name, Matthew is said to have traveled to Persia and Ethiopia to spread the good news. His story highlights how Jesus can transform any life, turning a despised tax collector into a foundational apostle. While the details are varied, the most common tradition says he was martyred in Ethiopia. He was reportedly stabbed in the back by a swordsman sent by a local king after he criticized the king's morals. And who could forget Thomas, often called Doubting Thomas? His moment of doubt turned into a powerful declaration of faith, "My Lord and my God." This faith propelled him farther east than perhaps any other apostle. Strong and ancient traditions place him in India. He is credited with establishing the Christian church in Kerala, South India. And the St. Thomas Christians trace their spiritual heritage directly back to him. His ministry was incredibly successful, but it also provoked opposition. Tradition says he was martyred near modern-day Chennai, pierced through with a spear while he was in prayer. Now for the other James, James the son of Alphaeus, sometimes called James the Less. There's less historical certainty about his fate, and he's sometimes confused with other figures named James. However, one strong tradition states that he ministered in Syria and was eventually crucified in southern Egypt in a town called Ostrakion. Another tradition says he was stoned and then clubbed to death in Jerusalem. Regardless of the specifics, his story is one of quiet, steadfast service. Similarly, Thaddeus, also known as Jude, the son of James, is another apostle about whom we have limited but powerful traditions. He is often paired with Simon the Zealot. Together, they are said to have preached in Judea, Samaria, Syria, Mesopotamia, and Libya. One of the most widely held traditions says that he and Simon traveled together to Persia, where they were both martyred in the city of Soignier, possibly by being beaten to death. The Epistle of Jude in the New Testament is attributed to him, a short but powerful letter urging believers to contend for the faith. That brings us to Simon the Zealot. The Zealots were a political movement that sought to incite the people of Judea to rebel against the Roman Empire. So for Simon to leave that behind and follow the Prince of Peace is a remarkable story in itself. As mentioned, tradition often links his later ministry with Jude Thaddeus. Their journey together reportedly ended in Persia, where they faced martyrdom. The exact method is debated, but one of the most gruesome traditions says he was sawn in half. Finally, we come to the one who replaced Judas Iscariot, Matthias, after Judas's betrayal and death. The remaining 11 apostles prayed and cast lots to choose a replacement to restore their number to 12. Matthias was chosen. His story reminds us that God's plan is never thwarted. Tradition suggests he was a dedicated missionary, preaching around the Caspian Sea and later in Ethiopia. Like most of his fellow apostles, he is believed to have been martyred for his faith, possibly by stoning and beheading. From crucifixion to stoning, from being flayed alive to dying peacefully of old age, the fates of the apostles were as varied as the men themselves. Yet, a common thread unites them all, an unshakable conviction that drove them to the ends of the earth. They weren't superheroes. They were ordinary men fishermen, a tax collector, a political activist who were transformed by their encounter with Jesus. Their sacrifice and dedication laid the foundation for a faith that has now spread across the globe and endured for centuries. Their stories are not just history, they are a powerful testament to the impact one life, dedicated to a purpose greater than itself, can have on the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through history. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the incredible stories of the past. See you next time.